Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Okay, so we are at verse 11 of chapter 5, and in verse 10 it was another mini summary of Karma Yoga, and very beautiful analogy was given, and the English translation of that was, he who does action offering them to Brahman, abandoning attachment, is not tainted by sin, just as the lotus leaf remain unaffected by the water on it. So basically, just live like a lotus in this world. वो कीचड़ से उत्पन्न होता है मगर it doesn't get affected. Just to kind of recap a little bit so that we have a good understanding of where we are. Arjun's question to Krishna Bhagwan was, should I follow Karma Yoga directly or the path of knowledge, and drop all unnecessary actions and all that to pursue? Because he in the beginning wanted to just not fight the war, so he thought this was the easy way, just pursue the knowledge. And Bhagwan says, no, you're not ready yet. So first sincerely follow Karma Yoga, and then Karma Yoga is the one who's going to take you slowly and steadily to your destination. Otherwise, if you just start prematurely, you will get stuck. So, and then what happens when we follow Karma Yoga sincerely? We get Vairagya aa jata hai, dispassion, And then we have to follow the path of knowledge. And what is the path of knowledge? That we revel in what the self is in, what the Atma is in. And then that's when we start practicing about, I am not the doer. And then we did the couple of those verses that, the body continues to act, but you constantly remind yourself and try to stay in that mode. So basically activity is not dropped, but the doership is dropped. That's the whole key over here. And then what happens with that kind of mode? The mind becomes quiet. And then a quiet mind is the one that we can go into meditation and realize the self. So, so basically, Krishna Bhagwan's message to Arjuna is, look, you have not attained that state yet. And then in verse 10 that I just mentioned, that the basic principles of Karma Yoga was, again, he said, and one of the main thing in there was that perform all your duties as a worship of God. So we had discussed how you offer everything to God. And then we have to remember what he's talking about, who God is. God is a totality. So it's like consciousness is the one that is like managing this whole cosmos, and that's where the concept of God. And then, so if we stay in that mode, one more point comes out, that the totality is the one that will take care of me. Whatever I need, it will come from there. So that's why I don't need to have any attachment. Everything will be if I'm doing the right thing, I need to be totally relaxed that Bhagwan will take care of me, whatever I need. And then here in this verse, let's do this verse first, and then some words are there. So whoever has the Bhagavad Gita, go to verse 11 of chapter 5. We'll chant. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalerindriyairapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam taktva atma shuddhaye. Kayena means by the body. Kaya bolte na. Manasa is mind. Buddhya is buddhi, by the intellect. Kevalehi. merely, only. Or indriya is you know that all the senses. Api is also yogi naha, yogis. Karma is action. Kurvanti, perform. Sangam is attachment. Sang बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में. Tyaktva, having abandoned. Atma Shuddhaye, for the purification of the self. So basically saying that the yogis do all the action, without attachment for the purification of the self. That's the basic idea. So the word over here, the use is yogi. So when we say yogi, mainly is talking about karma yogi, but actually this word yogi is used for all of them, like karma yogi, jnana yogi, bhakti yogi, सब में योगी बोलेंगे. But अपने यहाँ पर अभी अमेरिका में कोई बोलते हैं ना, like my son was saying, all these people started calling themselves yogis. So anybody who does yoga, physical yoga, they start calling themselves yogi. But anyway, so they associated with that Ashtanga yoga, but actually it means, so here focus is on karma yogi, just remember that. So, and then the question is that the yogis perform the karma. What is their really deep motive in doing that? They here it said purification is the main motive. Means to purify our mind. We have all these dirt in our mind, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mohammed, Matsarya. That's what is there. And the Delhi Wale Swamiji gave a lot of different points about this, and so I'll discuss some of it because I thought that's very significant. So what he was trying to explain, that when we want to change the world, we need to do action, right? But when we want to transform something inside us, then we need a different attitude of our mind. We need to more understanding. Like he was saying that if I want to clean this area or this house, I cannot just do it by understanding. I gotta get up and do it, right? I gotta do action, But if I want to make my mind calm and peaceful and all those things, then I have to shift something inside me. Some kind of understanding has to take place, So it's kind of transformation that has to take place, because if I'm anger, jealousy, greed, and all those things, they don't just go away just like that. So he's saying that where is coming from all these things, negative things. So he was explaining that how certain type of thoughts automatically come. Is that true? हम ऐसे बैठे हैं और अचानक कुछ thoughts आना शुरू हो जाता है. Where is it coming from, according to him? So what it is that it coming from, like your vasanas, they call it purva janma ka. Like there is a unconscious mind, subconscious mind, although उसके अंदर घुसा हुआ है ये सब कुछ, impressions from the previous life, And he was just saying that our mind is constantly chattering. So he said, thank God had made it silent. नहीं तो हम भी irritate होते अपने thoughts से, और सामने वाला तो बहुत irritate हो जाएगा. Like I remember somebody, our teacher was saying that sometimes, you see some, we call them crazy people, walking on the street, बड़बड़ा रहे हैं. आजकल तो थोड़ा डेंजरस हो गया उसे, ये बड़बड़ा रहा है, नहीं फोन पे बात कर रहा है, because he has these things, people are just talking. But anyway, before this phone business, when people used to just keep talking and all that, we say पागल है. So we say हम सभी पागल है, because हमारे मन में भी वैसे ही चल रहा है, silent नहीं है, constant talking and all this चल रहा है. So he's saying that जो हमारा basic thoughts है ना, वो उसकी quality we have to change actually, so that those thoughts are not negative and all that. How can we change it at all this deeper level? That these right kind of philosophy, study of scriptures, because that gives us a different vision of life. पहले हम लोग को मतलब, if we have not studied the scriptures and all that, I'm just generalized, we are talking about, we have a very narrow vision. Me and mine, my family, just living in a little hole. Then no, you are connected with the whole, cosmos. So then you expand your vision. And he gave a beautiful example of like a computer. Is a computer is programmed, right? So that whatever that program is in the computer behaves according to that. जो भी program उसमें किया हो. So you cannot just go there and start doing and you expect some other kind of behavior. जो जैसा program किया वैसा ही करेगा वो. तो अगर हमको प्रोग्राम चेंज करना है तो फिर वो प्रोग्रामर को चेंज करना पड़ेगा. The one who will understand the depth of the computer, फिर वो जाके चेंज करेगा, तब कहीं जाके चेंज होगा. So I thought that was a good analogy that it is like this is a very systematic technique that how it changes that हमारा जो माइंड का प्रोग्राम है वो कैसे चेंज होता है उसमें ये सब कर्म योगा का टेक्निक इज वेरी पावरफुल टेक्निक. So what is in Karma Yoga? The main thing that we have learned about Karma Yoga to change that program is change the attitude. So it's like by changing the attitude, that's when you go deeper and change the program. So it's like in the beginning we may be working for selfish reasons. मेरे को ये मिल जाए वो मिल जाए or name, fame, money, whatever you. So it's saying that don't stop working, keep working. But change the attitude to a higher altar. And that's exactly what we had discussed, that what a highest altar is, of course, God. But if I don't know yet who God is, I can take a guru as a higher altar, parents, country, somebody other than me, little higher. That's why. So he said even, ordinary things like eating, taking care of the body, उसमें भी you make it a higher altar. तभी वो काम boring नहीं लगता फिर. Because all of a sudden you will do the best. I mean, there are some people I have seen, कोई भी काम करते हैं ना वो इतना neat, clean, beautiful होता है ना उसका, जैसे बोलते हैं उनका signature होता है उनके ऊपर. Because उनके मन में वो higher altar है, So, and he gave an example of जैसे, okay, you saw a beautiful flower. यहाँ पर तो हम लोग नेबर्स का इतना जल्दी तोड़ते नहीं है बिकॉज लगता है कि बाप रे कोई कुछ बोल देगा. बट इंडिया में ऐसे चलते चलते वी पिक अ फ्लावर. सो इज सेइंग ईदर यू पिक अ फ्लावर फॉर योरसेल्फ, ओके, फॉर माई सेल्फ फाइन, बट सपोज इफ यू पिक अ फ्लावर एंड ऑफर इट टू भगवान, द होल थिंग शिफ्ट्स. your like whole attitude and everything shifts. So that's kind of transformation takes place in the inner personality when you change that. And he's saying that then what happens is that you learn to go beyond your boundaries. अभी तुमने अपना एक दीवार खड़ी कर दी है, तुम फिर उसको तोड़ डालोगे इस दीवार को, and you will, vision will become bigger, your thinking will become larger, like that. So he's saying that that's what this Karma Yoga technique is all about. It's a very powerful technique. And the other thing is that we already know that whatever attitude should be the result जो आएगा, that is a prasada buddhi. फिर उसमें तो हम लोग कोई नुक्स नहीं निकालेंगे कि हो why did this happen, blah blah. Hey, this is what भगवान का प्रसाद में जैसे हम लोग नुक्स नहीं निकालते वैसे ही, okay. And then I think I already discussed that the God means totality, that I am a part of this cosmos. So whatever I do is for the entire cosmos, not just me, And he's saying that if you really think about it, whatever we do in this world, हमको cosmos से मिल रहा है. हम लोग we are breathing and all, it's all the air, सभी का एक common air है, right? उसी में से हम लोग breathe कर रहे हैं. So even thinking like that expands our vision. Like Sadhguru always says that your half of your lungs are hanging on the trees, he says. Because in a sense that trees are part of your breathing. If they are not there, you won't be able to breathe because they are the one who give you oxygen. So it becomes a paradigm shift in your thinking. That's what he was talking about, that hey, with this Karma Yoga, that's what happens. And then impurities, जो हमने बोला ना, काम क्रोध लोभ मोह मद मात्सर्य, जो 6 things that we have in impurities in our mind, उनका basic cause is ignorance of myself. Because I am ignorant of who I am, that's why this happens. And he's saying everybody uses the word I, but we don't know what that I is. Remember, he discussed that whole thing about the I. The real I is actually Atma, but we make it like an ego type of I, So he's saying that that's where when you study the scripture, the clarity happens that what this self is and the change can happen. And so ignorant can truly go only through knowledge. That also we know, right? And he's saying that this knowledge comes in different stages. You cannot suddenly jump to that. That's why this karma yoga is technique is given. So the karma yogi performs the action for the purification of mind, free, basically trying to drop the attachment. When we talk about ego, that is like too attached to us, it becomes like egotistic, and the moment we loosen it up, have a higher altar and all that, automatically that ego is coming down, attachment is coming down, and that's what karma yoga does. So there is one kind of technique over here in this verse, that you perform action with your mind, body, and intellect, because these are the instruments given to us, right, to perform. But just use them as an instrument. And if whoever has studied Bhagavad Gita knows that even in later, almost to the end, I think in chapter 11, Bhagwan says to him, Nimitta Matra Bhava. Means you just become the instrument. I'm doing actually everything, kind of thing. And without, this me and mine, make a round, vagara, vagara, vagara. So he gave us such an interesting analogy, because sometimes we have a hard time understanding what that exactly means. And that Swamiji gave a very, very brilliant example. He's saying, हम लोग रोज चलते हैं, right? तो समझो अभी तो हम लोग Zoom पे हैं, तो इतना समझो हम लोग सभी साथ में बैठे हैं, right? और हमने किसी एक जन को बोला, अच्छा अभी तुम ना इधर से इधर चलो, और ये ग्रुप में भी नहीं, समझो किसी को स्टेज पे बुला के बोला, 500 लोग बैठे हुए हैं, ओके नाउ यू वॉक, ऑल ऑफ अ सडन ना उसका सब चेंज हो जाएगा. He will get so conscious of walking that, oh my God, what happens in that situation? All of a sudden, intense doership happens. Oh, everybody is watching me. Oh, I hope I don't do it wrong. अभी मैं दाहिना पाँव आगे बढ़ाऊं या बायां पाँव आगे बढ़ाऊं, मैं कैसे चल रहा हूं, सब मुझे देख रहे होंगे, कहीं मैं गिर ना जाऊं, और एक बार मैं गिर गया था पहले, सो पास्ट में जाएगा माइंड, और रिजल्ट से एकदम अटैच हो जाएगा. That I hope everybody thinks that I am a good walker, and what God knows, 100 things come. I thought that's such an interesting thing. And he's saying same thing is about breathing. We are breathing every day, very sahaj, and it happens. Whole life we breathe. Abhi idhar baith ke bolo, okay, focus on your breathing. All of a sudden the breathing changes. Doership aa gaya usme. You are trying to do this deep and this and that. Usme sab gadbad hone lagta hai, like, So he's saying that irregular ho jati hai, because our doership का उसने बताया कि how, and see how this example really hit home for me, that it can happen with anybody. So he's saying that what are we doing over here, that slowly we are changing our attitude for the entire life actions, not just breathing and doing all that, but everything that we do, we have to make it sahaj, like a breathing. That's the whole idea over here. And when we start doing that, that's when it becomes like free of ego. Ego starts becoming less. And then he gave one more example that everybody will understand this example. He's saying वो singer या dancer होते हैं, right? शुरू में जब भी वो लोग practice करते हैं ना, तो उसमें doership बहुत होती है. Like, constantly seeing how I'm doing, how my, people are watching me, ये वो. फिर जब वो लोग एकदम पक्के हो जाते हैं ना, डांसर और सिंगर, तो देखा एकदम सहज में होता है. फिर लाइक उनको नींद से भी उठा के बोलो गाओ, तो वो लोग एकदम सुरीली आवाज में गाना शुरू कर देते हैं. एंड देन दे आर नॉट थिंकिंग अबाउट डूअरशिप, बिकॉज इट्स हैपनिंग ऑटोमेटिकली, and he's saying that, and I have seen that the biggest singers and all, most of them, like, वो अपनी धुन में होते हैं, वो आंखें भी नहीं खोलते वो लोग. चाहे वो बाथरूम में गा रहे होंगे, चाहे स्टेज पे, उतना ही सुरीला आता है उनका, बिकॉज वो सहज में बन जाता है उनका, and it gives them a great joy. So he's saying that's how your every action should be. It sounds difficult, but he thinks that through this proper technique, it can be done, So, and he's saying that अगर वो जो समझो एक डांसर है तो वो एकदम सहज में कर रही है लड़की, समझो डांस, हाँ, अगर उसके मन में एक फ्रैक्शन के लिए भी आ गया ना ये ख्याल, आई एम डूइंग इट, थोड़ा सा वो लड़क फॉल्टर करने लगेगी, ये हमने वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड दिस. सो इज सेइंग दैट that's why this karma yoga is such a psychologically interesting sound technique that can help us from freeing us from doership, attachment to the result, and all those things. And then once we do that, then we flow with the cosmic law. It's like sahaj mein hone lagta hai. And then that's the time it dawns upon us that hey, all these activities are happening by our indriyas and all that, automatically it is happening. I am not the doer. So you go to a different stage. And that's when, that Swamiji mentioned that Krishna Bhagavan even told Arjun that you nimitta matra bhava. And he said even to fight the war, he told him that you do it, as though you are not doing it. And he's saying, main tere dwara karunga ye kaam. And I think there is one, somebody, I think Joe was talking about it. There was one Barbarik uska naam tha. Barbarik, I think he was Ghatotkacha ka beta, and he had only his head, and he wanted to see the whole war. And after the war, they asked him that, what did you see? He's saying, I only saw Krishna. That's how everybody was Krishna only, because Krishna ke dwara sab kuch hota hai. Hum log sote hain, hum log kar rahe hai. So that's kind of idea over here, that everything happens spontaneously, smoothly, and that's what karma yoga actually take you. And then another point, very important one, he said that some people have a wrong idea that karma yoga is some kind of social work or something. He's saying that's not it at all. Yeah, your social work can be part of your duty, that's fine. But that's not, just doing a social work, that's not karma yoga at all. Karma yoga is more that what kind of attitude you have behind your work, no matter whether you're doing social work or you are cleaning the bathroom at home or whatever you're doing, that's what the whole idea is, that certain attitude, that's what makes it. And once we learn that and are able to do, that's when the work becomes efficient, according to him. And you get very good results. In fact, he was saying that if you do in the correct mode of karma yoga, a little bit of work also gives tremendous results and happiness and peace and things like that to everybody. And he's saying these days what is happening is a lot of these management courses, they are deriving all these ideas from Bhagavad Gita and giving it a different name, synergy, this, that. But, he's saying that because it's such a powerful technique, so it's a good thing that they are using it. But, giving them a little modern names, but it is very ancient technique. And then one more example that he gave was very interesting. He's saying that this whole cosmos, how does the whole cosmos benefit when you do in karma yoga and it becomes sahaj and everybody benefits? So he said it's something like, suppose we have our body, and we are eating food that we do every day. If you eat correct food, which is conducive to your body and is, sattvic and all that, the whole body is very eager to receive that food. Not just the tongue, I like the taste. No, the whole body, all the organs and they're so happy. Oh yeah, this good food is coming and it gets assimilated very nicely and you become healthy and the whole body is glowing and all that. And body's not going to reject it, And you eat some gadbad food, which is bad for the body and, doing it with ego. Oh, I like this taste, that's why I'm doing it, not caring about the body. Then the body will start rejecting at every point, and it will not assimilate smoothly. So he's saying that's how in this universe, when you do the action with karma yoga, it gets distributed so assimilated so nicely and everybody benefits. I thought that was a beautiful example. Sometimes we have a hard time understanding what happens, And he's saying that, so Mahatmas, when they do the action like this, they create a different kind of energy, according to him. And it's like, that's why sometimes even they sit down and say some nice words, And it has so much profound effect on the whole people. Other people say something, किसी को कुछ नहीं होता, मगर so that's where it's coming from, that everything is like smooth and spontaneous and correct, So that's what Arjun को, भगवान ने अर्जुन को कहा कि you don't perform your action just ऐसे, but with the right attitude and thinking of mere instrument, that you're a mere instrument without I-ness and my-ness. And what is the single agenda? That purify the mind. And then once you do that, whatever will flow from you will be blessing of the world. So this is what this verse is all about. And in the next verse, he's going to compare the ignorant person with the karma yogi. That's going to be the next. Any question or comment on this?
Just one question.
Yeah.
We talked about, as you give the example of the walk and all that, right? And I'm thinking of, we talk about awareness, we talk about mindfulness and all that in every action. And we should be present in, whatever we're doing, even washing dishes, be present. Now, what is the difference then? If I'm doing that, then I'm doing that action, watching myself. And then if somebody told me to walk, and then what is the difference in the two actions? Because to me, if it's automatic, it comes naturally. Then you're not thinking about it.
True.
Here we're telling about awareness and thinking about it, what you're doing. And then you're saying, well, then the ego comes in, and that. So where am I going wrong in understanding these two aspects?
I think that what you are, I'm trying to understand your question. See, if suppose somebody asks someone to walk on the stage, right? We were talking about in general that if we don't have the understanding of this doership and ego and all, those things, suddenly you become the doer and then a problem happens. There could be somebody maybe like you or someone else who will take it सहजता से even walking. उसको कोई problem नहीं होएगा. He will walk because वो doership आएगी नहीं उसमें. Then it's fine. That example was just given as to understand that where does the doership come. The moment I start thinking about past and future and result and getting attached to the result, because that person in that example I was telling, which happens to a lot of people, the first thing they will think that, oh, everybody's watching, I hope they don't think that I don't walk properly. See what I'm saying? That's called attachment to the result. But there could be a jnani walking. If you tell somebody like Chinmayananji or some Swami to walk, he's not going to feel that way. He'll just walk. Because he's not concerned about,
True. Then what is the difference when they say be in present and just...
There's no difference. It is the be in present is coming from the exact same concept of तुम अपना past की regrets मत करो और future की anxiety मत करो while working. That doesn't mean that you don't plan. We have discussed this in detail.
Okay. Yeah. But I'm just trying to relate.
No, it is the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Exactly. All he was saying is that the moment we drop this not working in the present, that's where the trouble starts. That's where the doership comes in.
Well, if I am, now I'm paying attention to my walk. I am there. I am working. But then, I am walking and my whole attention is on the walk.
Yeah, no, that's not a wrong thing. If you are, because you are, even if we walk on the street, Ninaji, we are supposed to pay attention or not. The moment we don't, हम लोग को ठोकर लग सकती है. मेरे साथ भी हुआ है. I'm talking to my son and I suddenly hit something and I went flying and I got hurt. They are not saying don't pay attention. They are saying don't have the attachment to the result. That's all that I think in your mind, you are thinking that if I'm paying attention to my walking, is that a bad thing? No, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about mind shifting.
No, it's not a bad thing, but the ego is coming in if I am walking and I'm thinking about it. But here I'm washing dishes and I'm thinking about I'm washing dishes.
No, just washing dishes, your ego is not coming. Ego is only past and future. If you see definition of what Chinmayananji said, what ego is, it's a bundle of memories and anxiety of the future.
Right.
is the ego. So if you are focusing on the present, that's not called ego anyway. Ego has nothing to do with being in the
Right.
present. Yeah, maybe Joe can.
When
Yes.
you drive, you don't think that I'm touching the steering wheel or I'm putting the pedal or whatever. You just drive. So you are in that mode automatically. When you grow old, you are growing old without worrying about it that my body is changing. So when you are in that mode, that is the universal mode, then you are detached from everything else because it's happening to you automatically.
Yes, I think Joe explained it very nicely.
Okay.
Yeah. But what
But
you
once
are
you start
saying,
thinking about it, that's a different issue.
That's what my point was. That when I'm thinking about, I walk, and I'm not thinking about my walking. I have to go from one place to the other. I walk.
Yeah.
But here, then I'm walking on the stage, and all of a sudden, here I'm thinking about how I'm walking. What the result is, that means what people are going to think. So here my walk goes bad because I'm too much concentrated on the walk, or too much into the ego, too much into the, what my fruits of actions are going to be, what others are going to think. At the same time, I was thinking, when we talk about being the present, whenever, whatever you're doing, be in the present, not think about the past, not think about the future, be in the present. So there is a difference, and yet I cannot, in my mind, there is a little obstacle of trying to differentiate the two things. That's all.
just think
So-
about this whole thing, that put everything together. Think about what ego, definition of ego is, and then what sahajta is. And I think what I see the conflict happening in your mind is you are focusing on paying the attention. They are not talking about that kind of attention. That is okay to pay attention to your work. They are saying don't pay attention to what will happen in the future. And the way Chinmyaji explains, if you are focusing on your work properly, even in driving, if you think about it, we are focusing very intently. नहीं तो accident कर देंगे हम लोग.
Right.
But वो सहजता से हो रहा है, because हमारा mind train हो गया है, so we are focusing, and that's why we are doing a good job. The moment मेरा ध्यान हट गया present से, driving is a great example. I will have an accident. If I start looking too far away or too much in the back, I got to keep my focus on the road right there, in the present.
So I guess while I was walking, then I was thinking of how people are going
Yes.
to think, and then we came into the future.
Yes.
And to my results, to
Yes.
the fruits of the action. And therefore my walk went bad or whatever.
Yes, you
Okay.
got it. You got it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other question? Comment? Anybody wants to add anything?
I think you mentioned that it's called yantra root. In
Oh,
other words,
oh.
like you are like an instrument and you are being driven from universe. Now, if you can go in that mode, then you don't have to worry about anything about present, past, future. It happens.
That's what that when I was explaining that Swami from Delhi wale Swami ne samjhaya ki you feel like you're part of the cosmos then. Cosmos has got all the resources. So cosmos will provide you whatever you need. And the best example that I have heard is that अगर तुम्हारी कार अच्छी चलती है ना, तो तुम कार को बड़ा पैम्पर करके रखते हो. उसको गराज भी दोगे, ऑयल डालोगे, उसमें खटारा हो जाएगी तो निकाल के फेंक दोगे. So he's saying that may become like a useful car for the universe. Universe will take care of you. Don't become like a useless junkie. Then universe से जाने दो, उसको कुछ करने की जरूरत है. हम लोग खटारा कार को कैसे सड़क पे छोड़ देते हैं. So that's what it is. Shall we read Swamiji's commentary? Okay, any volunteers to read this? Otherwise, I'm going to circulate with the 4 people that I know. Okay, Anilji, you can read. Verse 11.
All right. Yogis, having abandoned attachment, perform actions merely by the body, mind, intellect, and senses for the purification of the self, ego. In all scientific treatises, After a statement of truth, there should be examples illustrating the factual part of the scientific assertion. This is the tradition in all scientific treatments. Vyasa faithfully follows this traditional law when Krishna is made to give out the Gita. In this stanza, we are told how we can find the truth of the above statement actually employed and successfully worked out when seekers in Karma Yoga pursue their divine life.
So he's just telling you that here they are showing the practical thing, and also telling you the motive, that why those Mahatmas do this way, because they're trying to purify their mind.
One thing I have to mention here,
Yes.
that this Dharma Vyada story, I watched it 3 times.
Wow.
I mean, that is so powerful.
Yes.
That explains exactly what Karma Yoga is.
Yes, I agree. That's why that story is
Also-
very popular. Yes.
Yeah. Because I think basically adding divinity to your Karma Yoga.
Yes. They're adding divinity, and does not matter who you are. That's why they took the example of Dharma Vyad. From the worldly perspective, उसका काम कितना गंदा दिखता है.
Yeah.
Killing animals and selling. He's saying that उसमें भी वो divinity ला सकता है. Because he was just bound by that work, because that was in those days, you just took father's profession. And the same thing applies to Bhagavad Gita. Arjun's job was horrific. He had to kill his own relatives. And Bhagwan is saying, do it in a divine manner. So there's a parallel between the Dharma Vyad story and Arjun's situation, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So हम लोग को the way we have to look at it, हमारा काम इतना बुरा तो नहीं है धर्म व्याद और इसकी तरह. So why can't we bring divinity, right? Should be a lot easier for us. Very good point.
These Karma Yogis continuously employ their organs of activity, kaya, mind, intellect, organs of knowledge, indriyas, renouncing all attachments. Here the word merely, kevala, is to be understood and read along with the organs of action, the mind, the intellect, and the instruments of cognition.
So this is a little subtle point कि बस वो काम जैसे कि जो was saying, it is just happening. उसके अंदर ज़्यादा कुछ डालने की कोशिश मत करो attachment. That's what he's saying. Just do it. Whatever, firstly find out what your duties are and then just do them. And that I was just thinking, हम लोग duties में नहीं ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, ओ मेरे को अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है इसलिए मैं नहीं करूँगी ये. I was thinking of a mother and a child, because I have a baby in the family now, my grandson. Mother cannot say, oh, I don't feel like, so I'm not going to get up and take care of my child. You just do it, So, and not thinking, लाभ, हानि, ये, वो, nothing. Job है, करना है, उठना है, diaper change करना है, feeding करनी है, you just do it. And then once you start... go ahead.
No matter how tired she is, she
Right.
will get up and do it.
Yes. And if you do it with that kind of thing, you train your body. After a while, I have seen, शुरू में new mothers बहुत complain करते हैं parents. बाद में धीरे-धीरे कम हो जाता है, because they're getting that used to it, getting the joy, and and you learn to do sacrifice for other sake, Then now they can't go out, they can't do this, or that, and you just, the joy starts coming, so.
A Karma Yogi's attempt is to keep himself within himself as a detached but interested observer of all that is happening around and within himself. When he thus observes himself from within himself as a worker in any given field, it becomes easy for him to see that all actions belong to the above-mentioned instruments of action and not to the detached observer in him. Here, however, he must realize that the observer in himself is not the truth, but this observer is truth standing on the open balcony of the intellect. Even while thus observing ourselves in action, we are ever conscious of the very observer in ourselves. This consciousness that illumines the very observer is the spiritual center the self, is the declaration in all Upanishads.
Okay, so this is a little bit subtle point, and this is a little bit like technical thing he's talking about. Like Minaji, you always say, no, okay, witness in me. He's saying that the truth is the illuminator of that witness. That's what he's saying. So what is this witness? The best example I can think of is we are the observer in ourself is we observe our body is very easy to observe because it's gross, right? How I'm sitting or whatever, if I have a problem or and all that. So body is easy. Mind ko when we observe, then we say, you know what? We say, I am very sad today. Actually, what we are saying is my mind is sad. Is that true? That means there is an observer behind the mind, which is observing it is sad, or I am very happy, or I am depressed, or I am elated. So observer ho gaya ki nahi? And then we are observing our ideas too. Hey, I have a good idea, I have a bad idea, my mind is not working. If I'm observing my mind is not working, that means there is some entity behind the mind. Think about it. So that's what the observer is. So he's saying that's not, the Atma or the one that illumines, that gives it that power to observe is the Atma. That's what technical thing he's talking about. That's why you cannot grasp this Atma or Brahman by your intellect or mind. You cannot grasp it because it's the power behind it.
Umaji, I got my answer.
Okay.
I understood now because when I'm washing my dishes, I become the observer to my hands who are doing the work. So I am not involved. I'm just the observer of my hands washing the dishes. So I got my
good
right from here.
That's what happens in Vedanta. That I'm not getting it, and then I read something else, and it's like a tube light. It goes on, and now I got it. So that's good. That's good. Because they all are related. Everything is related anyway. Yeah.
But it is true also. Now when he talks about the observer, I observe the observer. Therefore, the observer becomes an object at this point. And therefore, that is a reflection. And the reflection of something which is the true self.
Right.
And therefore, that is the true self. And the observer itself is a reflection only.
Yes, you can look at it that way. Very good.
I mean, because this intent, the consciousness that illumines the very observer, illumines the observer is the spiritual center, the self.
Yes. So as long as we understand that, yes. Because kabhi kya hota hai ki we don't understand this concept, but the best way to understand it is I cannot see my own eye.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm seeing it from behind. So that's same way. So, but I can understand what my eye is. I can see the reflection and I can say, hey, this is the eye and I'm seeing it through. So like that. So it's a little complicated, subtle subject, but slowly it sinks in what he's trying to say.
Okay. Thank you.
If thus the spiritual center itself is something beyond the observer, why should a karma yogi practice this technique of self-observation called in our shastras the witness attitude, sakshi bhava?
Sakshi bhava. Sakshi bhava.
This is answered at the end of the verse when Bhagavan says, for the purification of the ego. By such a practice, the seeker will be entering into the field of activity and pursuing the work without the self-arrogating ego, thereby rendering himself available for an easy and effective purgation of the existing vasana impurities. To the degree these are removed, to that degree the inner equipment become clearer and steadier, rendering the reflection of the divine consciousness in them more and more vivid.
So here he's just trying to say that if here we are saying that that observer is not that final thing, then why should I have that witness? So he's telling you because to purify our mind. And I think the best example I can think of is when I'm looking at myself in the mirror. If the mirror is dirty, my reflection is going to be bad. But the moment I clean the mirror completely and the mirror is very good reflecting medium, then just jaisa mera चेहरा है बिल्कुल वैसा ही दिखेगा मुझे. That's how you see the divinity, because so that's why it is important to remove all the dirt of the mind.
The Upanishads are never tired of repeating that upasana and karma are practiced only for the inner purification of the seekers. Shri Krishna only repeats here what the rishis declared before. The originality of the Gita is not in what it says, but in how it states. No doubt, apart from the literary uniqueness of the Gita, there is also a compelling charm in the easy camaraderie of the speaker, Lord Krishna. When the same thoughts come through the revered beards of the stupendous saints, they gather a density of distinction, while the same words wear homely garb when they dance out from the sweet lips of the eternal cowboy.
So he's just saying that with coming from Krishna, it's a very simple, and you feel very close to him. And that's why I think that Joe was saying that with Krishna, you can create any relationship that you want. And here they are, Arjuna and Krishna Bhagwan were friends. They were relatives also, but even bigger relationship there. They felt very close to each other. And when Krishna is saying Arjuna is